And we'll go ahead and start. We have inequalities first today. We did the first 7. So we'll pick up at number 8. So we have 4x plus 8 divided by -2 is less than 9. And so this one you're going to clear the fraction, multiply on both sides, and I would get rid of that negative at the same time. So multiply on both sides by a -2. Now remember, when you multiply or divide by a negative, it causes your symbol to flip over on an inequality. So you're going to get 4x plus 8, but it is going to be greater than -18. And then it'll be standard. You're going to take off your 8. So you get 4x is greater than, this will be a -26. You have like signs. Add and keep the sign. And then you're going to divide by 4. Now you're dividing by a +4, so it is not going to flip again. So you have x is greater than. They will want you to reduce on this. So it is going to be negative. We only have one negative. We have a common factor of 2 here. 2 will go into 26 13 times, and 2 into 4 will go 2 times. And you can reduce on your calculator. I don't have a regular calculator I could show you here. I'll try to get one that's a template, but I don't have one yet. All right. Let's see how they wanted the answer. That's something you have to watch with these. It says, write your solution as an inequality. If your answer contains fractions, please enter a fraction. So this one is not asking us for interval notation. The others have asked us for interval notation. And so they want us to actually enter the answer like this. And so we will go in here. And we'll have x, and we need the inequality symbols, or you could type that particular one from your keyboard, greater than, and then I'm just going to go back to basic, so I get my function button, a fraction button. All right. Yes, Will. I will plan to do that one. Thank you for the question. Right. We can look at number 9. Number 9 is not going to be anything different than what we have had. It just has a variable on both sides. Right, and so you distribute your 1, but it doesn't change anything. Now, for inequalities, I would keep the variable on the left, because if you have to graph or do interval notation, that will make it easier. So I am going to subtract 12x, even though that will give me a negative. Right, so I have negative 12x. I'm just going to switch this order, which is fine to do. Right, I'm going to take off the 3, so you're going to add a 3 to both sides. So negative 12x is less than a negative 5. You're going to divide by a negative 12. And Mrs. H has an error on here. I did 11 minus 12. And what should I have? Negative 1. Sorry about that. You guys can tell me if I do that, okay? All right. So we have negative 1x minus 3 is less than negative 8. Add your 3 to both sides. And we have negative x is less than negative 5. And you have to divide by this negative 1. So when you do, your symbol is going to flip. So you're going to have x is greater than, your two negatives here will clean up to give you a positive. This one they ask for interval notation. You might be able to do this without a graph. X is bigger than 5. So it's going to start at 5 and go to infinity. You can always do the graph to help you there. So all they want in this box is the interval notation. All right, let's have a look at this number 10. And this is a tricky problem. I worked it ahead of time, and I kept expecting it to be an inequality, and it is actually not. I mean, there might be a way to work it as an inequality, but I didn't see it. So, and it has another tricky piece in it. So this says a local salesman receives a base salary of $750 a month. He also receives a commission of 8% on all sales over $1,000. How much would he have to sell a month if he needed to have a monthly income of $1,800? Now, if it was going to be set up as an inequality, they would need to say at least here, $1,800. Then it could be set as an inequality. But they gave an exact number. All right, so he's going to get $750 every month, plus he's going to get a commission, 8%. Remember from last time, percent has to switch to a decimal to do the math. So drop your percent and go 2 places to the left, 0.08, all right? And what we're going to put here is an expression for his sales over 1,000. So if we let x be the sales, right, we only get this commission when it's over 1,000. So we'll take all of his sales and subtract 1,000. And that's what we get the commission on. And we want this to equal 1,800. So that's your setup. A couple of little tricky pieces there. You can clear the decimal or not. I did not clear it when I worked it, so I just left it. And so we'll leave it. So we have 750 plus 0.08x minus, and shortcut, if you do 0.08 times 1,000, it'll move your decimal to the right 3 places. 1, 2, it's going to be 80. You can also do it on a calculator. Right, and then these like terms should go together that are on the same side. So we have 750 minus 80, 670. Plus 0.08x equals 1,800. Sorry, I'm not lined up really nice there. You're going to get rid of your 670. So 1,800 1130, and then you're going to divide by 0.08. So you get x equals, and then we'll go, I already have that 1130 sitting there, so I'm going to divide by 0.08. and I get 14,125. So this is what his sales need to be to make $1,800 a month. And let's just check that. Make sure Mrs. H didn't mess up. There we go. And there was no need to round. It told us to round. Any questions there? And I agree. That one was a little tricky. Right. Let's see what else we have in this section. Didn't make any notes to leave any out, so we'll go ahead. So this is a linear inequality. We did some of those at the beginning. So you isolate your variable. If you divide by a negative, your symbol flips. So we will subtract a 6 from both sides. Negative 3x is less than 12. When you divide by negative 3, the symbol is going to flip, so you have x is greater than negative 4. They want a graph, and then they're going to ask us for interval notation. So for our graph, negative 4, we want x to be bigger than that, and there is no equals. So a parentheses, and in the software, an open circle. Interval notation will leftmost point is negative 4, and it will go forever to the right. Infinity always gets a parentheses. Right, let's see if we can draw it on here. So we want an open circle on negative 4, and we're going to go to the right. And then here we want an interval with parentheses. And we'll do, negative 4 first, comma, and infinity. And submit. You guys stop me if you have a question. All right. That moves us to a new kind for us, and this is a double inequality or a compound inequality. So problem number 12, and what you're going to see is that you have 3 sections, not 2. So you're going to treat it as if it was something with 3 sides. And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to all 3 sides. You will start in the middle. That is where you want your variable isolated. So we're trying to get to the x. We should first take off anything added or subtracted. So we're going to take off this 2. You have to do it all 3 places. Your symbols separate your sides. All right, now we'll clean up. This is a negative 4. It's less than or equal to negative 4x. Which is less than 16. Now we're going to divide by negative 4 all the way across. This is going to cause it to flip. Our symbols, I'll circle them so I remember. Right, now we'll rewrite. This will give us a positive 1 greater than or equal to x, which is greater than a negative 4. When you do your number line graph, you need to go in numerical order. So when you draw this, you need negative 4 to be first, and then 1, and x is between. Right, and these inequality symbols were different. Right, so the one with the equals we'll get a bracket, and in the software a closed-in circle. And this other one with no equals underneath will get a parentheses in the direction of the shading, and it will get an open circle. They did ask for interval notation, so it will be -4 to 1. So let's see, let's draw our graph first, and we need to put those points on there. So for -4, we get a solid circle because it had the equals. And for 1, we're going to get an open circle for the parentheses or for no equals. Then we'll draw our line, and you do need to get all the way up on that point. You don't want any tiny little bit of white space left. Right? And then interval notation, I would click the interval button, and I want brackets, then parentheses. So -4, comma, 1. And we'll just check that. Oh no! Let's see. Oh, you know what I did? Do you guys see what I did? All right, my endpoints have the wrong pieces. The 1 should get the equals. So what I should have had, sorry. So this is wrong. What I should have had, I have the right order, but this should have been the parentheses, and this should have been the bracket. So turning it around messed me up too. We did this right, but I put the endpoints on the wrong one. So the equals was with the 1, and this one gets the parentheses. So this one is your open circle, this one is your closed circle, and your interval notation should have been -4 to 1. All right, and let's look at the answer key. Yes, that is what I missed, and that is what I missed there. Sorry about that. And that's easy to do with them switching. So something for you to watch out for so that doesn't happen to you. All right, 13. This one you just have to simplify inside first. Both of these have less than or equal. So maybe I won't mess that up. All right, and we'll distribute. Right, and then you're going to isolate in the middle. So go in the middle, you're first going to take off the 26. So this is -41. And this is -40. Look okay? All right, now I have to divide by -2. Which is going to make everything flip. So the two negatives here will turn positive, and this, it's not going to divide out evenly, and it doesn't reduce. All right, symbol is now going this way. X is in the middle, and 2 will go into 40 20 times. This is smaller than this one, So on your number line, you need the 20 to go first, and then the 41 over 2. And both of these are going to get a solid circle or brackets on your interval notation. They are not actually going to ask us to graph that, I don't think, because it would be hard to do the fraction. So they only ask us for interval notation. And there we go. Right, so you do have to watch out and put this in order when you go to your number line. So that happens when those flip. I'm going to skip 14. It's similar to the two we've just done. All right, I will do 15. We have to clear a fraction there. So 3 is less than 1/3 x plus 8 is less than or equal to 8. And I just want to make sure I am seeing those correctly. Yes. All right, so first job is clear the fraction. Common denominator is a 3, so let's multiply across by a 3. Remember, you have to do every single piece to be able to do that. And so 3 times 3 gives us 9. This one cancels, so we have 1x there. 3 times 8 is 24. And this one is 24. All right, and now we're going to go in the middle to start to solve. And we have to subtract 24 all the way across. This cancels. So we have 9 minus 24. Is going to give us a negative 15. Is less than x, less than or equal to, and this gives you 0. 0 is a number. It's okay to get 0. And so this should be our endpoints, a negative 15 and 0. And no equals underneath on this one. So this will be a parentheses or an open circle on the software. And it looks like they just asked us for interval notation. This will be a bracket. So your interval notation will be negative 15 to 0. All right, and that is all they wanted. And I do have parentheses on the negative 15. All right, so we're good there. Any questions from the inequalities? Right, it will take me just a second to switch to the next module, because we had the first module in first homework in module 2. All right, so let's see if I can get back here. So now I will be, and you are ready for that quiz. I had turned it off earlier so I could revise it. I did revise it, and so you are ready for that. The first one in the graphing and there is a little video there to help you with the graphing tools if you have questions. All right, so we are now in Mod 2, Homework 1, which is some graphing. All right, and I'm not going to do all of this first question. I am just going to give the coordinates of like 1 or 2. And it asks you also about quadrants, I think. Maybe I'm down too low. It does not. So you realize that when you look at the answer. So we'll pick 2 or 3 points, right? So if we pick A, and we can give its coordinates, it is 0, 0. It has not moved across. It has not moved up or down. Parentheses are the notation for a point, an ordered pair. And this one is not in a quadrant. These 4 sections are your quadrants. This is called the origin. Right, and let's pick G. And its coordinates you go over on X first. So it is 2, and then you do Y 2. So 2, 2. And for quadrants, they are numbered counterclockwise, and they start in this positive quadrant. Normally you will see this with Roman numerals, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't care if you do Roman numerals or not, but this will be quadrant 1. Right, let's pick something. This one would be quadrant 2, so we can use point C is in quadrant 2. It has a negative x, so negative 1. That goes first. And then a 3. So it is quadrant 2. All right, B is in quadrant 3. And it is negative 4, negative 2. Whoops. Negative 4, negative 2. And that is quadrant 3. And then just so we don't leave one out, we'll do quadrant 4 is F, which is 4, negative 1. So I think we did them all but one. A, B, C. No, we didn't do D or E. They're both on the axes. D is on the, we can do them so we don't leave something out. Sometimes we'll leave out. All right, so D, the coordinates, you have not moved over, so its first coordinate is a 0. You have moved up 3. This is on the y-axis. It is not considered a quadrant. And then E is on the x-axis, and it is 1, 0. All right, and it has you just select an answer. All right, so point A we said was the origin. I thought it might make me do more for that. Let's see. For B, it's just going to have me give the quadrant. All right, I'm going to just submit this rather than putting all those in. And it's going to mark me wrong, except I'll have a little bit right. All right, so I have 0.14 right. That means I got the first 2 right. Oh, I missed one of those. Oh, because I was looking at my list wrong. Sorry about that. I wrote G, that's the second one that would have been in quadrant 1. And B should have been quadrant 3, 1, 2, 3, which we had. I didn't look carefully. Okay. All right, and then they have a few where they just have you plot. Just remember when you plot, start at 0, 0, move your X first and your Y second. So you will click the point, and this is 2, 4. So I'll hold my mouse so you can see. Start at 0, 0, move over 2. Don't make a point until you're done. Up 4, click, and that is all there is to it. We'll do one more. So 4, negative 5. So you click your point, find, start at 0, 0, do 4, and then you're going to go down 5. and submit. This one is kind of a backwards question. It is giving you the point and wants the coordinates, kind of like we did in the other one, except we didn't give the coordinates, we gave the quadrant. So you have to figure out the x first. It has moved across 3, and it has moved up 1. All right, and I'm going to skip 5. You're just going to put all 3 of those on the same grid. And I'm going to skip 6. You put all 3 on the same grid. And we'll go to 7. All right, so they want us to plug in and then graph. So they're starting us out, and they give us 1. It's in the first position, so they're giving us x. I'm going to put it in a table form. So they're giving us 1, they're giving us 4, and they're giving us 1 for y then. All right, so if they give us 1 for x, we write it down and we plug it in. So 1 plus y equals 1, and you're going to have to subtract it. So y will equal 0. I'm going to switch and put that in a different color. So we solved for that one. And then you just start over, and you plug 4 in for x. And for this one, you have to subtract 4. So you get y equals -3. Right, then notice they switched and they have given you 1 for y. So we have x plus 1 equals 1. And so you want to subtract your 1, and x will equal 0. Then we can fill those in, and then we plot. Right. I'm not going to bother to fill them in, but I will draw the line. Okay, so we have a line tool. You're only going to be able to do 2 of them with the line tool, and it's probably going to want my mouse. So line tool, I clicked. Now I'm going to click one of them. So I'll move over to 1, 0, over 1, and don't go up. And you can use either of the other 2 points, right? And so I'm going to do 4, -3, and click. That should be my line. Now, it's going to mark me wrong for those points up at the top because I didn't answer. We could check them. 0, -3, 0. Okay. All right, so the line tool only lets you use 2. 3 is a good idea to have a checkpoint. All right. The next question asks whether something is linear. That's important, especially as you go higher and you have different kinds of graphs. And the exponent is your clue. So for the first one, the exponents are 1, and so it is going to be linear. All right. This next one, this one is actually not going to be linear because those variables are in the denominator. We haven't looked at exponents yet, but it's x to the -1. That is not x to the 1 or y to the 1. So this choice number 2 is going to be nonlinear. Right, and choice number 3 is a line. It is a special line. It does not have to have both variables. And it will either be vertical or horizontal when it only has one. So choice number 3 is linear. All right, and we'll just look at the answers. So yes, linear, nonlinear, and yes, linear. All right, 9 is another one that's going to have us complete the table. So they're giving us a start for drawing this graph. If you have done a lot of graphs and you know slope, it's okay to go ahead and graph this with slope. But you would have to answer the table to get the question correct. All right. And basically what we're dealing with is we're going to learn to graph lines. They'll throw a couple more that are nonlinear in here. Right, and the method we're using here is point plotting. But they're even leading us and giving us points to pick. So if we put in -2 for x, we have y equals -2 times -2 minus 3. So this is 4 minus 3 is 1. All right, and then they give us 0. When you plug in 0, that's nice. It cancels that piece out. So that's gone. Y equals -3. And then they give us 1. So y equals -2 times 1 minus 3. -2 minus 3 is a -5. And we'll graph those. And we can double check right here. So 1, 3, -3, and -5. All right. So this is a line because the exponents are 1 on x and y. And so we'll use the line tool. And we can only plot 2 of those. Usually they put like a little magnifying thing so you can blow it up, but they didn't on this one. So we'll work with this. So I will do -2, 1, and 0. So don't go over, but go down 3. All right, and I'm going to submit it. A bunch of it's wrong because I didn't put the answers in. The graph is good. Guys doing okay? Have you seen some graphing before?
Mostly in high school. Of course, this math is a bit different. This app in the browser.
Right, just getting used to it. Okay, so we can go ahead and do another one. And this one has a fraction, so this is also in slope-intercept form when we get there. Graphing with slope is the fastest way. Point plotting is the slowest way. But it is something you need to know because it works for graphs that are nonlinear. So y equals -x/3 minus 2. And they have told us the values to use, -6, 0, and 6. So we're just going to substitute. You do have to watch your signs on this first one. We have negative already there, and we're going to put in 6, -6. I say it, and then I don't do it. And this is over 3. So this ends up making a positive, and that gives us 2 minus 2 is 0. So 0 for this. Plugging in a 0 into x will wipe out. So it's not going to matter whether there's a negative or not out there. It's going to wipe the whole piece out. 0 over anything is 0. So we're going to get a -2. And if we plug in 6, we still have this negative. Oops. Right, this gives us negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. So we'll check those and then we'll graph. So 0, negative 2, and negative 4. You'll need your line tool. Whoops, that was not what I wanted, so I'm going to clear it. Okay, so I want the line tool, and let's do negative 6, 0, and 0, negative 2. So don't go over, but go down. So again, it's going to mark me partially correct, just for my graph. Let's what time's left? 15 minutes. We should be okay to do this one. It's really going to be the same way. They're giving us what to plug in. So y equals negative 3x plus 4. And the x's they've told us, negative 1, 0, and 1. So if we plug a negative 1 in, we get 3 plus 4 is 7. And then we start over and we're going to plug a 0. 0 is really nice because you will choose then, and 0 is good to choose because it wipes pieces out and makes the math easy. So this one is 4. And then you are going to plug in 1. So y equals negative 3 times 1. 4 is negative 3 plus 4 is 1. And I got off my color scheme there. All right, that's good. And we'll try one more graph here. I don't think it likes my stylus, so I will use the mouse. Negative 1 and plus 7. And then don't go over, but go up 4. And we'll submit. It'll mark us partially wrong, but the graph is right. Okay. So 12 is a different kind of graph, and if something is nonlinear, you need more values. 2 points will actually tell you where a line goes. Normally with lines we pick 3 so we have a checkpoint, but if you have one that is not a line, and we know this one is not a line because of the exponent of 2. So this one is nonlinear. So you need more than those 2 points. You also need to make sure that you have some positives and some negatives because you want to see if anything happens to those negatives. And so we'll go through this one. And this is a nice group of x's. You have just a negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And so we plug them in. When you plug in something to an exponent, you need parentheses. If there is a sign on it, you want it to go to the power because originally the x goes to the power. So this will give us a positive 9 minus 6 is 3. All right, we plug in negative 2, so use parentheses. Negative 2, the exponent minus 6 is 4. Minus 6 is negative 2. All right, negative 1. So y equals negative 1 squared Sorry, spacing out there. All right, and so this gives us 1 minus 6 is a negative 5. All right, if you plug in 0, 0 squared is going to be 0. So that will give us negative 6. I'm going to just not write that one down. All right, and then when you start plugging in the positives, now the positive you don't have to write the parentheses. Parentheses keep you safe, but if you're plugging in a negative and there's an exponent, you always have to put the parentheses when you plug in. I'll just put parentheses all the time. That is safe. They're your friend. Right? And order of operations says you have to do the exponent before you add or subtract. So 1 squared is 1 minus 6. This gives us negative 5. Have you seen that value before? You have. So this picture is going to give us something that is symmetric. Right? And so we'll plug in 2. So y equals 2 squared minus 6 is 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Also something we've seen before. So we might even guess that this 3 is going to be the same as negative 3, which is a 3. So we'll check y equals 3 squared minus 6. It's 9 minus 6 is 3. It is because that square gives you 2 negatives, which makes it positive, and so gives you the same answer. All right, so I'm not going to check all those. They're right. All right. They don't let you draw this one. If we had a grid over here, I could plot all those points. It is going to be a parabola. It is not these. These are lines. I guess just looking at these, you could pick and see which one has those points. So negative 3, 3 is on this one. Negative 3, 3 is not on this one. You could test another point just to be sure. Let's look at that 0, 0, negative 6. Right, so don't go over, but go down 6. This is the right choice. So it's kind of process of elimination, looking at their graphs. All right, so we choose the first one. Now we're going to miss all those at the top. But we're good on the graph. All right, and we're good for time. I am going to skip 13. It is just like some we did earlier. So I see no reason to do it. 14 will do. This one, the setup of it makes it a little harder when it has x and y on the same side. Right, and this is what they've told us to choose. Later we'll graph with intercepts, and this is the right kind to use with intercepts, even though you could use the point plotting like we're going to do. But when x and y are on the same half, intercepts are better because you're going to plug 0 for x and work it out, and then you're going to switch and plug 0 for the y because the 0 wipes out the piece. It makes the math easy. So, but we'll plug what they said. So negative 3 into x, it just takes a little bit more algebra. So we have to solve for y. So we get 6 minus 3y equals negative 6. Subtract this 6. So we get negative 3y equals negative 12. Divide by negative 3. And we get y equals positive 4. See, that was more work than just plugging in like we were able to do before. So if you had one isolated, if we had moved it around, we could just plug in. And so this one was equal to 4. Now, the nice thing, next one they're going to give us a 0 to plug in. If you plug in 0, it's going to wipe out that whole piece. And so you're just going to have negative 3y. I'll write it, but you can get out of writing it. So this is gone. So you have negative 3y equals negative 6. Divide by negative 3, and you get y equals 2. All right, and then you're going to plug in 3. So we'll have to do more math. And let's see where I could squish this and just keep one screen. All right, so I'm going to plug in 3. So I have negative 2 times 3 minus 3y equals negative 6. And this is a negative 6 minus 3y equals negative 6. Add the 6 to both sides. You get negative 3y equals 0. 0 is okay. But if you divide by negative 3, you're still going to get 0. So y equals 0. And so those points are the intercepts. They land on the x and y axis. So we can check, make sure Mrs. H didn't make an error there. And we'll graph with those. So those are special points called the intercepts, and they land on the x and y axis. So we will use 0, 2. So don't go over, go up 2. And we will use 3, 0. And there we go. Oh, it marked me wrong for the top. Okay. Very good. All right. That was 14. 15 is an absolute value graph. It's not going to be a line because of these special symbols on here. Similar to what we did before, you plug all these in. You need more points if they weren't telling you the points, and you need some negatives and some positives. Absolute value turns a negative into a positive, right? Because the definition of absolute value is the distance from 0. So it is positive, and so you'll have a symmetric graph like before. I'm going to do just 1 or 2, and then I'm not going to finish it, okay? All right. Y equals 3 times absolute value of x. So if we do negative 3, we plug in, right? You have to take the absolute, which is positive 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. So your first one there is 9. Notice it turned the negative into positive. Let's put a regular 3 in and see what happens. Right, you would do absolute first. Order of operations, it's considered a grouping symbol. So it goes on level 1. So that is a 3 times 3 is also a positive 9. So you're going to get a symmetric graph. It turns that negative into positive. All right, so we could actually just use those two and figure out a graph. It will always look like a V. So I have negative 3, 9. I wonder what the scale is on here. All right, so let's see. Negative 3 and 9. This one's not working. All right, and negative 3, 9. This one is not going to do it. Let's see about this one. Negative 3 and 9. This one looks, this one looks good. And 3, 9. So this one looks like our choice. Let's see why this one would not be. All right, negative 3, and it goes to 3. It doesn't go to 9. This is a much wider graph. So we were, we picked this one. And we got the graph right. All right, a different kind of question here. This one gives us a graph and asks us, let's just read it. For the given graph, what is the value of y when x is 1? And let me use my mouse so you can see my cursor. Hopefully you can see that cursor move. All right, so you want to go to x equals 1. X equals 1 is right here, and you want to know the y value that matches it. So you're going to go down until you hit the line, and it is a -3. So find the point they tell you. They tell you x is 1, so find 1 on the x, and then go to the picture. And so we're looking for y, so we went here, and it is -3. We'll get there. So that one's a little different kind of question. 17 is a little different kind of question. They're giving you the whole ordered pair, and they want you to tell whether it's a solution. They're not asking you to solve. You just plug in here to see if it gives you true or false. So when you determine whether something is a solution, plug it in and see if it's true or false. So is -3, -5 a solution? And it's a yes or no answer. So you're going to plug in. This is x, this is y. So -2 times -3 plus -5, does it equal 1? So this is a 6 plus -5 is -5. So 1 equals 1. This one, the answer is yes. Right? The next ones, the others should not. Well, we can have 1 point. So yes, we can have more answers. All right, so that one is a solution. That means, according to the graph, it is a point on the graph. Right, so let's try 0, 2. So is 0, 2 a solution? And you plug it in. So -2 times 0 plus 2, does it equal 1? Right, and this is 0. 0 plus 2 does not equal 1. So this time we would answer no. Right, and 4, 9 you would do the same way. You just plug in. I'm not going to be able to get that down without messing up my screen. We'll get a new page. All right, so -2x plus y equals 1 is 4, 9 a solution, and you just substitute and see if you get true or false. So we have -2 times 4 plus 9. Does this equal 1? And this is a -8 plus 9. It does. So this one is a yes. So kind of a different type of work that you have to do, depending on how they ask the question there. And I think there is one more. So just having us complete the table, which we've done some, but they give us some on each side. Let's see if I can get that back off of there. All right, so we can do it. We are good on time. So y equals -1x minus 1. Complete the following table. So they're giving us x, and then they're giving us y, and then they're giving us x, and then they're giving us y. So you're just switching back and forth, right? And it'll be easier with the ones where they gave us x because we're plugging in. The y ones we'll have to solve because we'll have to move things around. So the one that's not isolated is the nice one to plug into. So y equals -1 times -5 minus 1. This will give us 5. Minus 1 is 4. So 4 for this one. And then this one they switched and they give 9 for y. See, this will cause us some solve steps, right? And so we'll add 1 to both sides. And we have 10 equals -1x. Divide your -1. So x equals -10. Right? And we'll do the -3 here. -3 will be easier because we're plugging right into x. So y equals -1 times -3 minus 1. So this is 3 minus 1 is 2. And did we look at the answer on that one? We did. So this one is 2. The last one will make us work a little bit. Let's see if we can get a little more space. -1 into the y. All right, so we're going to add this one. This will wipe out. We get 0 equals -1x, but 0 divided by anything is still going to be 0. So x equals 0. There we go. All right, I think we got to the end of that one. So you are ready. We are on track with our schedule. So finish up the inequality homework. You are ready for that quiz 1 and the mod 2 homework 1, graphing equations. You're ready for that. All right, I'm going to stop there, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. And let me know if you have any questions. All right, so I'll turn